Hey everyone, it's Kai from Cool Collectibles back again for another review. This time it's the 3A DLX scale Bumblebee. For a place to get all your collectibles, click the link in the description below to head on over to Big Bad Toy Store. They ship worldwide, so definitely check them out. Alright, this figure released about 3 or 4 months ago and I wasn't planning on getting it. I did enjoy the movie. I do definitely think it's an improvement over the more recent Michael Bay sequels, but I still think the very first Michael Bay movie is my favourite Transformers live action movie after the 1986 cartoon. So the biggest improvement for me from the movie were the designs of these characters. It's a much more simple design, and it does definitely cater for more of the G1 fans, unlike the Michael Bay designs. But I wasn't that big of a fan of the movie to really get into any of the figures from the Masterpiece series or anything else. But over the last few months, in particular the last month or two, I was getting quite a few messages from a whole bunch of collecting friends who did pick this up and told me that it's an amazing figure and that I would regret it if I didn't get it. And after seeing a whole bunch of blogger photos and just the posability of this particular figure, I thought I'd give it a go and see what the fuss was all about. And unboxing him, I was definitely glad I did pick him up because just in summary, just the build quality, the paint application, articulation, and just the level of detail that they've put in this thing is pretty bloody amazing. But I'll quickly go through the packaging and the accessories. The box art is pretty simple, as you can see. Just a sort of a rendition of the character on the front there. Interesting design of the logo. I'm not sure if that's from the movie. I can't actually remember it from the movie. And it just opens up. It does have this magnetic panel at the front, which I probably won't bother trying to show. Oh, there you go. And you open up and you just have the window box there. But everything's all nicely packaged very well. But the thing you'll notice when you unbox it is definitely the weight of this figure. But we'll get to that shortly. From an accessories perspective, it does come with this pretty massive base, to be honest. It's bigger than most of the 1/6 scale bases that I've got, so I'm not quite sure where it's going to go in the display for now. But based on this, I will be getting the Optimus Prime figure as well, so hopefully they can share a base or something like that. And the base, you just need to, it comes in 2 pieces. It does clip in here and here, and it's got a nice locking mechanism here, so you can flip that down and it locks in place, or you can flip that up and it slides forward. And I think there's a part here that fits into his backside or something like that. I probably won't even bother using that because the figure itself is so sturdy. I don't think it actually needs any support on display unless you have him in some pretty crazy poses. But the design, it's got a nice patterning on it with the movie logo and so on, so a nice addition there. The accessories, I actually wish, the only thing I do wish for this figure, if I can actually get some focus, is that it came with more hands. It comes with the default fists, then it's got these open wide splayed hands. Let me see if I can just zoom in and get some detail in here. Just the detail in these hands is incredible. I love the sculpting. I wish they were articulatable. All of these are fixed, so nothing in the joints. There aren't any pins or anything like that. But you'll see the sort of dark wash in there. Everything looks like it's well worn, rusted, scratched. So it's just beautifully done. And then it comes with these sort of relaxed hands. So I think the swap out, I haven't actually tried the swap out mechanism, but by all accounts it's pretty easy, so I'll give that a go. That is just all on ball pegs. It comes with the larger doors. I can't actually remember from the movie which way he had it. On his back here, you'll see that there are a couple of holes, so you can have the 2 smaller doors, I think, folded down like that. I think that's how I recall it in the movie, and I'm not sure if they just include these larger ones. I'm assuming they go like that. Actually, they might even flip upwards like that. So I think that's more of a Michael Bay look from that design. But I'll probably be going with this. It's a little more streamlined and less less obvious. It comes with his transformed arm with the, I guess, the rifle or gun or whatever it was. I think he used that when he was fighting, I'm not sure if it was the end fight or the fight against the Blitzwing, I think it was. And the swap out mechanism along the forearm there, so I'll give that a go a bit later. Now I'm not sure if this has any light up features. I think I didn't get any batteries, but the light up feature I think is definitely in the head there. And I just noticed, I love how this design here, you'll see his fingers on the hand and you'll see the fingers shown along there. That's just a fantastic way they've designed that. And again, love all the sort of burnt sort of paint application there. So they've gone to town with some of the sculpting detail, and this is where I think the compromise between having a lot of detail in an articulatable figure that doesn't transform, as opposed to one that does transform, and the design sort of compromises that you need to make there. So I think you compare this against the Masterpiece version, and it's like night and day. I would much prefer this figure over the Masterpiece version any day. But I'll just get all of this stuff out the way and give you guys a closer look at the figure. Alright, I was saying before that one of my favourite things about this figure is the paint application, and I think there's probably only two areas that I can nitpick about this particular figure of mine. I did watch a few of the earlier reviews from 3 to 4 months ago, and one of the big things that you'll see from that, I don't know if they're two different batches or what, but the earlier reviews all have much more of a dark wash on the Autobot symbol on his head, and that's much more consistent with the movie, where you see a lot of dirt in that particular symbol. So the more recent ones, I've seen a couple of more recent videos, and they're like mine, where it doesn't have that sort of detail. So I might actually get some ink or something, or even a pencil maybe, to see if I can give that a bit more of a dark definition. And the only other paint application issue is when someone in the factory, I'm assuming, was doing the dark wash, they must have left their fingerprint, because I can see just on the right hand side there a little fingerprint mark. Well, I've gone out of zoom there, but it's just on there, so I'm not sure if I can sort of rub over that and get that off, and maybe try and add some myself. But for the most part, those are the only two issues I have with this particular figure. Everything else, from build quality, the way the parts move, and the way you can pose, and the balance of this figure, it's incredible. With the head sculpt here, there's so much articulation. You can move these things, his little ears there. There's a lot of range of motion in the head, so you can sort of get a lot of impression or expression with him, which is great. I think on my shelf, I'll probably have him displayed in that pose he did from the Breakfast Club, with his fist in the air. So that's probably how I'll end up doing it. Now, from a build quality perspective, I was saying there's so many moving parts that I thought it was going to be really delicate to move, and there was going to be a risk of breakage. But the joints are all fairly tight. They all move fairly smoothly. And no matter where you put your fingers, for the most part, it didn't feel like anything was going to break. So with the shoulders here, I love how the shoulder pads here can sort of move out like that. And there's a whole sort of shoulder joint in here that is almost like a floating piece. So that can move up, or you can sort of just move that shoulder joint and get quite a range of motion there out to the side. I think I've seen some poses where it does get a little bit higher and you can rotate it forward. There is a bit of a butterfly motion in there as well, I think. I just haven't tried out all of the... you do just need to loosen it up a little bit so you can see the butterfly action there, which is really nice. So I think everything's pretty tight for the first time you try and move it, but once you get it loosened up a bit, it feels really quite smooth. So you get the bicep swivel. This area here, this little pin, you just got to be really careful not to snap that off. I think that is plastic, so you can sort of see that. But when you bend the elbow here, it is on a double joint, I believe, on there. So you can get it quite up into that sort of clenching pose. But just be very careful of these two pins, because that's probably the riskiest part of any breakage there. The whole upper torso is beautifully sculpted. You see all the detail in there, and on the back. I love the detail on that. I love the sort of spine look there. And then the articulation, you've got this ab crunch action at the bottom here, and then this top part also moves, so you get I mean, it looks down all the way like that, and then you can have him moving to the side, rotating around, and it doesn't look like anything, or it doesn't feel like anything is rubbing against each other. So there's probably a little bit of a risk on paint rub and so on, but as you get a feel for where those points are, you can sort of avoid any sort of damage. I mean, even these parts move, so you can sort of lift them up at the back here, get some more get some more shoulder articulation at the top there. It's just they've pretty much thought about every point of articulation that you would want in a figure like this that doesn't transform. The wrist joint there, so you can get a bit of action there, but you know, that this whole piece is sort of limiting some of the posability there, but that might change depending on which hand you might have on. Again, with the similar action on the hips here, you can sort of fold these points out and get some more articulation there. So I think they splay out to almost like a 90 degree, if you want to call it that, from if you have both of his hips open. And I mean, this was the piece that I was actually quite worried about. If you sort of fold that out, was that going to snap off? But it all feels very tight. So there's the 90 degree spread like so. And just the paint application and the weathering on the details on the chrome, or not the chrome, just the silver parts, is just really nicely done. The knee joint is a bit of a highlight. I love how they've done the, if I just fold that back down, I love how they've done the piston joint. Just be careful you don't snap that off. So you fold the knee, and it reveals that little piston in there, and that all folds up like that. It's just, I mean, that's an amazing amount of articulation for the knee. You can bring his knee up, his hips up. So mine's still a little bit tight. You can sort of move the top joint there and the bottom joint, and then just move it down like that. And that just folds up really nicely like so. The ankle joint, you just flip up this panel here, and that reveals the internal mechanisms in there. So you've got plenty of ankle rocking motion like so, tilt forward and tilt down. So just be careful to lift this up. But again, just the detailing in the paint and the sculpting is incredible. Even from every angle, it looks great. I mean, that's the compromise with a lot of the masterpiece figures. They do look great from the front, but because of the transformation and so on, they don't look their best from the rear. But this figure just looks fantastic from every angle. Now, I think one other paint application in issue, you know, this one here has got that nice sort of weathering on it. This one, not so much. It's got a little bit. So I don't know if that's on the newer batch where the right leg is a little bit cleaner. So I might, again, just try to add some of my own black wash to that. I might get some tips on from some of the model painters to see how that might work. But if you've got any ideas, just comment below and let me know how the best way I can go about doing it. And I just realised I just popped that off. Now, thank God that that's not broken, because it's on a ball joint. So I just realised that the way they've done all of this is through these ball joints. So that popping out like that is probably a very good thing that they can do that. So I'm definitely glad I didn't break that just then. But that gives you an insight into how they've sort of done these mechanisms. So I think someone did mention to me that the shoulder pad might be on a similar sort of mechanism and might pop out, but everything pops out and doesn't usually break. I haven't heard of any breakages on the figure, which is a great thing. So overall, that is pretty much it. If you're in the same sort of ballpark as me, where you weren't thinking of getting the figure and you weren't that big a fan of the movie and so on, I think just for if you're a G1 fan and the way they've improved the design from the original character to this variant, I think it's a great way to see the change in history, bypassing the Michael Bay sort of versions, and hopefully they continue this series like this with this sort of general aesthetic. I'm not sure if I actually showed you the battle face head sculpt. It's got the same sort of articulatable ears as well, with this face mask down, and again the black wash on the symbol. It's a little bit darker on this one, but not as dark as it should be, I think. I mean, the swap out features is pretty good. It's just on a little ball joint there. Now I don't have any of the battery, so I can't show you the battery and the light up features and so on, but I think it just shows the blue eyes on both. I don't think it has a red eye version for when he goes a little bit nuts, but I think that's just a minor thing. I probably won't even put the batteries in to try them out. I hate leaving batteries in my figures, and I really only try the electronic features just to see if they're working. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to bother going to buy the batteries for this particular figure. But other than that, that's pretty much it for my quick thoughts. Hopefully you like that quick look. I will be posing him up shortly, and posting up some photos on the Facebook page and the website, so hopefully you can click through and have a look at that. But until the next video, hopefully you can stick around. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.